And we're back!
Don't ever start it like that. Jesus.
What's up? This is Don't Fly Continental. This is Andrew Bocock. We got Jonathan Borello from the Koreatown. I mean, actually, the Korea over there. He's
actually in the literal Korea.
He's waving at you, but you can't see because you're listening, as far as I know. Also, we got a special guest here. This is John Crenshaw, who actually was one of the original DFCers back in the day. Do your radio voice again, remember the radio?
That's about right. I held some phones and made some calls and answered some audiences. So it worked well out for all of us.
All right, no, that wasn't good enough.
He was abandoned on the steps of Notre Dame by his mother.
It was a hard day, but I was picked up by Don't Fly Continental, and I've made my way here ever since.
That's how it happened.
Crenshaw, what's your top 5 favorite colors?
Primary colors?
Any colors in your typical 64 Crayola box.
Red.
Oh my god, I want to have your babies.
Purple.
Go on.
Purple.
Purple?
I like a good sky blue. That's my third one. This other one, lilac, probably.
Didn't you already say purple?
Yeah.
That's a smell.
Isn't that
he
like...
likes shades of purple.
It's a gray shade of purple.
50 Shades of Purple, the Crenshaw story.
So anyways, we are going to be reviewing the films of Elaine May this week. Actually, we're not going to be reviewing all of them. We're going to be talking about two in particular.
With copious references to Ishtar, probably.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know much about Ishtar, but I keep hearing these infamous things.
It's supposed to... I've only seen parts of it. It's hard... The few scenes I saw were pretty bad.
Okay.
It was one of the most famous film flops in history. It was this huge big budget thing from Elaine May as the director, and was starring Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty, and they go to like Morocco or something. They go to some African country, and it's supposed to be this big, long, grandiose like adventure comedy. And it's terrible. I've been told. I haven't seen the whole thing.
Well,
maybe
I spoke with one gentleman who told me the first 10 or 15 minutes are great, and then after that it just kind of dissipates very rapidly. So we're all kind of here on the air talking about these Elaine May movies, and you know, we may talk about other things here and there if we so fancy, like the fact that I got into a huge car accident today and had to run 5 miles. I don't think the world needs to know that, but I want them to, because I need a justification for the second beer in my hand within the past half hour.
And in less exciting news, if you should hear some chewing, it's because I'm eating apples.
And it
doesn't measure up to the car accident. But
well, car accidents aren't usually that exciting. I mean, they're exciting by strict definition, but not by leisurely definition.
Are you saying the experience of telling the story over and over is not exciting?
That is one thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't like doing that.
Right.
So I was just complaining about that a little bit earlier. So let's just move on.
Elaine May. This is one thing I didn't know when you mentioned that you wanted to do an Elaine May show. It didn't occur to me who she was until I actually Googled her, and I said, oh wait, I know who this is. The first time I ever saw her was actually in the Woody Allen movie Small Time Crooks from the 90s, and she's actually the funniest part of the film. She's way funnier than Woody Allen in that movie. She plays this very dumb sort of cousin or something that helps him with this caper, but she's just a complete idiot. But she has the best lines in the movie and the best delivery. She's really funny. Yeah. The other thing I knew, she was part of a comedy duo back a long time ago with Mike Nichols, and they did several comedy sketches together, and they're a comedy team. But I hadn't seen these two movies you mentioned, which are...
A New Leaf
and...
The Heartbreak Kid.
The Heartbreak Kid was remade into a Ben Stiller movie years later.
That was balls, apparently.
It was awful. It is terrible.
But was it as bad as Envy?
No, absolutely not.
At least Envy had the J-Man.
Well, I've actually never seen either one. I can't really compare the two. I just remember hearing overwhelmingly negative reviews about both films specifically. So,
what should we review first?
Okay.
Well, let's ask Crenshaw.
Let's talk about the Heartbreak Kid 1972 version, I believe, because we don't want to get mixed up for the Ben Stiller audience out there.
We'll save the Ben Stiller people for the... I don't know. There's not really a Ben Stiller movie I want to do, actually. So
he is left off the list
No,
completely.
yeah. He actually, if you're a Ben
Well, it's
Stiller,
because he's too popular too. Like he
Yeah.
wouldn't count as making obscure films. Like,
Oh.
dude, have you heard about this movie called Zoolander?
I can understand that, but not a lot of people have seen Duplex, so it's always worth it.
Duplex, yeah.
No.
It's heartwarming.
Okay, so Heartbreak Kid. Charles Grodin is the main character in this one. Elaine May is not an actor in this one. She's just the director. Was she screenwriter too?
I believe so. Could be wrong.
Charles Grodin plays this guy. He just got married, and it's just after the wedding, and they're driving away onto their honeymoon, and he's starting to think maybe this was a mistake. He's starting to notice weird things that she does increasingly, and they go to Florida, right?
That's right, Miami Beach.
Miami Beach. And over the course of their stay, he runs into another woman, played by Sybil Shepherd, who's just kind of young and whatever, and she likes flirting and everything. And he just falls immediately in love with her, and then he sort of becomes her stalker, but she lets him. And he's leading this double life while he's just days into his marriage with the woman that he was supposed to love.
Indeed. I almost want to immediately jump into similarities between these two movies, but I guess I should try to focus a little bit
Hold off for just a second.
Yeah. The main thing I noticed about this film is, well, first of all, I saw New Leaf first, and it looks like, to answer the question earlier, we just looked it up, and Neil Simon was actually...
Oh, that's right, Neil Simon.
Yeah, Elaine May did not write this one. Anyways.
And it has a very similar vibe to The Out-of-Towners with Jack Lemmon, which he also wrote.
Yeah.
And some of his other plays.
Yeah, seeing Charles Grodin, I think in some ways this is kind of the perfect role for him to play. He's super young, and he's just this asshole. And, like, the thing is, the movie does an incredibly well job of trying to make him this asshole character and make him not an asshole, sort of, by the things that he's doing. Like, the way he does them are still wrong, but the actual things he's doing, you like, if you hear a story about a guy doing these things, and you're like, okay, well, he seems to be doing the right thing, or, you know, whatever it is. But you get to know his personality, and he's so kind of abhorrent. Anything he does, it's like, oh, dude, I hate you. Like, okay, I guess you're doing the right thing, but you're so sleazy and gross.
You can chalk it up to youthful inexperience. Like, he just seems very naive. He doesn't realize what he's doing is evil. He thinks that, oh, the world is about me.
Yeah, it's about entitlement, I guess. That's kind of a good theme in this movie to kind of grab onto, is just this sense of, oh, well, I need to be honest in life, and the best way to do that is to basically see what's best for me. So it's a very kind of like selfish attitude and going, well, I guess I'm supposed to live at peace with everyone around me, but I step on toes along the way, and, you know, that's just the way it goes. But honesty is the best policy, I guess you could say. Yet he still lies to his newlywed wife for a while, you know, while he's trying to figure out how to break the news to her. And at first I was thinking this is kind of shaping up to be one of those films where, oh, the guy's trying to hide his whole affair the whole time, and then it ends up collapsing at one point and just kind of comes crashing down. But the way it's structured is actually pretty clever and fascinating.
I feel like Elaine May tries to portray Charles Grodin's character in a very sympathetic way of being, like you said, a jerk, in which he's responding to his wife's ridiculous attitude sometimes and be like, you would do the same thing, right? Like, you would get upset, but the way he flies off the handle seems like he really, at the heart, is all about himself and being a jerk and making her aware, like, he's getting offended, basically, so make sure you change quick or something might happen.
Yes, he has no duck feathers. Everything just soaks in, just makes him just, like, more uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I feel bad. Like, his wife gets such a raw deal in this from beginning of the movie until she leaves. It's like, oh, this poor woman. I mean, also, you can see why he's annoyed by her. She is annoying, but she's not a bad person.
It is interesting, though, that both of these films surround this somewhat deplorable male character and this female victim that's kind of this quirky but sympathetic character that is playing to this trope of this either nerdy or just socially naive type of person. Yet the films play out in very different ways. The end result is kind of similar. Well, I guess not entirely similar. I would say the Walter Matthau character in A New Leaf, he's more of a conniving type of evil character initially. Anyways, we'll get to that in a bit.
It's hard to talk about these movies without crossing them over because they do have a lot of those similar themes. What I liked about Heartbreak Kid, it ends ambiguously. It's not a victorious ending. We'll say that. I won't say specifically what happened.
Yeah, that's the thing is, in that
Had
film...
it not had that ending, I probably would not have liked the film.
Yeah, it straddles this line, especially near the end. I really like the last act a lot, where he has a confrontation with her father, father, and he's really sticking
Who
to his
hates
guns.
him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such an awesome dynamic. He's never able to dupe the father. I think he's actually convinced himself that he is a well-meaning character.
Oh yeah, he does believe that he is only pure and has good intentions. It just was the situation was kind of awkward for him.
It's kind of like a late blooming coming of age story in a way. The coming of age after it's past, where you're having to kind of face harsh reality and completely annihilating this other person's feelings, and it's making you out to be a terrible person no matter how well intentioned you may be. The thing that I really liked about the movie, though, I feel like Elaine May has a really great knack for letting scenes play out in an incredibly awkward way, where she's letting the actors go and you see the body language and the facial reactions on the people around. Instead of cutting back and forth to like reaction shots, you see all of the reactions contained in a scene during an entire conversation, and it shows a huge dynamic in a unique way, where something you might witness maybe if you're up close in a theater setting, but you can't get this from an actual theater performance. The way these intimate conversations play out and these reactions between the actors is really just well executed and fascinating.
I think Charles Grodin actually plays this awkward character in a more believable way than Ben Stiller does, because Ben Stiller plays a similar character in a lot of films. Ones that he acts in, not so much stars in. Flirting with Disaster, remake of Heartbreak Kid, Meet the Parents series. He plays these kind of awkward guys, and it's funny, but it's always a little bit cartoony to me. And something about Charles Grodin, he seems like he actually believes all these things.
Yeah, he's sincere.
It's played very straight. Like, the things he's doing, he has no concept of how funny they are, I think.
Yeah.
The character. Obviously, the actor is aware. Which, by the way, can I just say, this might be my favorite Charles Grodin performance.
Oh, yeah, he was fantastic in that. He's really amazing. And the other thing between the two films, as we're starting to kind of bridge them a little bit, I actually thought that the girl he was marrying was Elaine May at first. I was like, oh, she looks a little different. And I was like, wow, that's Elaine May. Yeah, that's her. But then I was like, oh, and my friend was like, that's not Elaine May. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, that's not her. But the reason I found the resemblance is because, well, it's her daughter actually playing the role. So yeah, it was fascinating though that her daughter actually played that role first, and then in New Leaf, which came after, Elaine May herself went into that similar kind of role, which is interesting because I don't know what it is. It's just the era difference or whatever, but I didn't see that huge of an age gap between the two. It was strange to me because the movies are only a couple years apart, but Elaine May and her daughter, they don't seem terribly off in their age difference.
I was just happy to see Charles Grodin doing something that wasn't the King Kong from the 1970s, or
he was in that?
Beethoven, or
Beethoven.
When he was trying to be Andy Rooney for a long time. He got really old and he was on, 2020?
Yeah.
He was trying to be Andy Rooney. Like, gotta get rid of Andy Rooney. Who else can we get? I know, Charles Grodin? What?
Wait. Was that before Andy Rooney died?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember him vaguely being on there, but I don't think I specifically remember.
I don't know if they kept him very long.
Yeah.
He was kind of bad at it, I think. Oh, but I should say, Elaine May did work with Charles Grodin one time before, because she wrote the screenplay for Heaven Can Wait.
That's right, yeah.
With Warren Beatty. Again, she also worked with Warren Beatty. And that film was remade with Chris Rock years later. She gets all these movies being remade.
Yeah, that's such a shame.
I think it was Down to Earth was the Chris Rock name, the movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
I like Heaven Can Wait. That's actually a pretty good film. And James Mason's also in it. But she wrote the screenplay. Charles Grodin has a very minor part in that. That's a funny movie, too. We gonna rate?
Yeah, why not?
This is garbage.
Let's do this. Let's do this rating bananas.
I like rating a lot. I think I'm a ratist.
Yeah, careful with your rating, because you might be a serial rater. Serial rate.
Ugh.
Rateology. Rate. Think of other... But I'm just going to shut up right now.
Serial
I was just thinking my favorite pickup line. Man, I am fresh out of roofies. Want to just talk?
Oh,
it's a good one.
It gets them every time.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start since I'm third party here.
Third party.
Let's go with 3.5. Nailing it down.
Nail it down, man.
3.5 what out of what, though?
What? I thought we always
You have to give it a creative spin. This is Don't Fly Continental.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah,
it's been so long.
Think of an object from the film that sticks out to you.
Awkward smiles.
No, that doesn't work.
Sideburns. Rodent sideburns. Grodburns.
Grodburns. Grodums. 3.5 fireplaces out of 5 fireplaces.
Okay, there you
the
go.
fireplace scene.
It keeps the heart warm. That was sealed the deal for me.
That scene, I like the payoff, the joke at the end of that scene.
Right? Are you kidding me? Oh.
That was good.
It might sound kind of weird for me to say this, but I'm going to give it 4.25 10-year-olds out of 5 10-year-olds at the end of the movie. If you get what I mean.
I'm going to allow it because you've been through a lot today. What with your car accident?
Let's appease him while we still can.
Come on, think of a better one than 10-year-olds. You can't beat that.
It was creative.
I liked the film a lot. Like, I enjoyed it, and I found the characters very interesting. And I really liked where it went in the end. Had it not ended the way it did, I don't think I would have liked it. But no. It's a very cynical movie, actually. This should be said. It's a romantic comedy, but it's very not optimistic.
Right.
And I found that very refreshing, actually. Some of the filming aesthetics, though, weren't incredibly powerful. They were very 70s, very bare bones and kind of grody,
How about
I will say.
Grodeny.
the zoom ins on the sun? It just threw me for a loop. That's why I couldn't get along with the film until the dinner scene.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. Like, there's a few weird camera moves that I'm looking, I'm like, why would they do this? But I like the film. I'm going to go with credit. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. Broccolis in the teeth.
There we go.
There you go.
Or what is it? Was she eating a pastrami sandwich? There's something really unpleasant.
It was
Egg salad sandwich.
Egg salad.
Egg salad sandwich in the teeth. I like the film. Some of the cinematography, though, I would have made some different decisions, maybe.
I was okay with it didn't distract me or didn't really pull me out or anything. I thought the naturalism was fine for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could have been spiced up, but just because stylistically I like how she lets the scenes play out. And she doesn't try to interfere. In that sense, I thought she was a pretty strong director.
Yeah, just for me, it just felt just a little bit stagey, and then it would do weird things, like we'd focus on the sun. But it's not that it's a bad film, it's just I think that it was just a stylistic grievance. I like the story a lot, and I think the characters are really funny. I think it's really well written and well acted. I would recommend the film.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You better.
Our next film of the evening, or whatever time of the day it happens to be when you listen to this podcast, is A New Leaf, starring Walter Matthau and Elaine May, who also directed and wrote the screenplay.
I had a friend of mine actually recommend this movie to me because...
Was it Kevin?
No.
Was it Kevin?
Actually, I watched it with Kevin and convinced him to watch it. So I'm responsible for his Blu-ray purchase.
Look what you did.
Yeah, look at that.
You old son of a bitch.
Yeah.
With a twinkle in your eye.
I didn't do no twinkling right now, man.
Got some eye twinkling happening. I just woke up.
All right, good. I hadn't heard much about this movie, and I just kind of checked it out of curiosity. So I was like, okay, Walter Matthau's cool. I'm not familiar with Elaine May, but figured I'd give it a whirl. And it's a very different type of comedy. It's so kind of mean-spirited. It's so committed to this dark comedy in this way that's very just matter of fact. And in some ways, it mixes this style of this Arsenic and Old Lace type of story, but with something a little bit darker and more cynical.
It reminded me of Monsieur Verdoux, the first Charlie Chaplin film where he was not playing the tramp and he was that conniving rich guy who kept marrying these wealthy widows and then killing them and inheriting all their money. It had a very similar tone, and also because that's part of the plot. Walter Matthau plays this really wealthy guy who's just discovered that his philandering and irresponsible ways have cost him his entire fortune. And he's broke. And he's trying to think of ways he can get the money so he doesn't go broke, because he has no skills, he feels, and he's not used to being poor.
As most rich people are not. So
yes. I liked his butler. I think his butler had the most interesting reasons for sticking around, because everyone else was turning their back on him. They were letting him go broke just so they could watch him fall so hard. And his butler sticks around because he says, "You're the only person in the world with as many eccentric tastes and things that I have to do for. And being a gentleman's gentleman is not a very common career today, so I'm going to help you get your money back, not because I like you, but because you're the only one who needs me." He's not like the butler who wants to stick around to help him. He's not Samwise Gamgee, really.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a mercenary, and I kind of like that motivation.
He's the butler for the hell of it.
Yes. He's like, well, I'm a butler. Can't really do anything else. In a sense, he's in the same boat as Walter Matthau, because Walter Matthau can't be poor. The butler can't not be a butler to this degree.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, How would you describe like what the movie's trying to grasp at? It's hard for me to even say because, like I said, it's a dark comedy.
Yes.
Again, Walter Matthau is this deplorable character who takes advantage of this woman that he finds that's very naive and nerdy and just committed to wanting to discover a new species of leaf. She's really into botany and everything, thus the title of the film.
Yeah,
and so she
it also referred to changing your ways of turning over a new leaf. So I like that.
Exactly. That is an obvious theme there, but at the same time, I feel like the movie kind of contradicts it in some ways. I really enjoy the film, but at the end, it's just so mean. And then at the very end, he has this quick turnaround, which to me...
I like that turnaround scene, actually.
It's great. And
it's funny.
Yeah. He's just like, oh,
It's so
all
stupid,
right.
too.
Oh, I see this thing, and okay, I guess. It reminded me of a much more well-acted and better version of Revenge of the Sith.
What?
I know.
What the hell are you talking
I
about?
know, okay, I'm just saying we're...
Elaine May's A New Leaf is much like a Revenge of the Sith.
Well, okay, we made this Star Wars reference in our first episode. I just had to continue the theme there. No, actually, my reasoning for that is I was specifically referring to the scene with Anakin Skywalker where he becomes Darth Vader, and it is just like, oh, you're okay. I guess I'm bad. All right.
Yeah, he's like
You
kind of
win.
like, he's reluctant about it. He's like, all right, I'll do whatever you ask.
Yeah, except it's not all dumb like that movie. It's
Yeah.
It's more like, oh, okay, well, Walter Matthau is just such a petty character that in the end it's like, well, I guess he could just change his mind like that. Oh, he's been trying to murder her this whole time, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The tonal difference between this and the Heartbreak Kid is that this one is much more playful.
yeah.
It's darker. It's like more cartoony. It's not grounded in the real world. It has a lot of strange things that happen, and the situation itself is kind of absurd. Heartbreak Kid, you could actually see that story happening. This exists in its own little universe, and it plays with those rules rather than trying to be realistic. We set it up. Walter Matthau's going broke, and he needs to marry a rich person, and he's got all these people backhandedly helping him, but really trying to undo him. And he's got a very short amount of time to get married. There's I think it's 7 chances. It's Buster
the
Keaton,
Buster Keaton movie, yeah.
where he's got a very short amount of time to marry somebody so he can collect this inheritance.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of that, a little bit of Monsieur Verdoux, because he wants to murder the woman he marries, because he's kind of like, I'm a bachelor. I don't need any woman. He doesn't know how to interact with people. But yeah, when he meets Elaine May's character, who's this very disheveled, insecure, bookworm character, who's extremely wealthy, but she's very awkward, and her army of servants is just taking advantage of her. Elaine May has a really good character in this film. And one thing I like about both Heartbreak Kid and New Leaf is that these are not typical romantic comedies. The male characters are actively evil, sometimes without realizing it, sometimes with complete understanding, like, yes, I am an evil person, I'm going to do this just for me. And the women are not glamorous. They are very... Even Sybil Shepherd in Heartbreak Kid. All of these women characters, these are not like these glamorous, perfect women. These are deeply flawed, both physically and socially, individuals. It makes for an interesting comedy because we're so used to, Matthew McConaughey and Jennifer Aniston or something like these two, like, gorgeous-looking people. And like, oh, they're going to fall in love and it's going to be beautiful. And these are so much more mean-spirited and interesting.
Yeah, the awkwardness, like you were saying, really encapsulates their relationships because it is more real. It's something that you would see in real life. Even
though this is more cartoony, this is more believable than most modern-day romantic comedies.
Yeah, that's true. It's just, it's sad.
I'm still taken aback that you call Sybil Shepherd not breathtaking in that movie.
Oh, she's rough. I mean, she's attractive, but
she's
her
got
character,
rough edges. Which way?
No, she's very attractive in the film, but her character is not...
She's not a glamorous
All
character.
she does is flirt the whole time.
John was saying she's not...
But she flirts like a child.
Yeah.
Right, because she's like...
makes it unappealing, I guess.
She's 21. All right, I see.
No, she's beautiful in the film, physically. In a typical romantic comedy, she'd be more perfect. She'd have a personality to go with the bod.
Right, because she literally doesn't do anything in the film.
She's just the dangling apple on the tree.
Or dangling boobs on the stick. in this movie, the big difference, I would say, is that there's really no sympathy for Walter Matthau's character.
From the first scene,
Yeah.
you hate him.
He's just a pretty awful person. The only reason he's there is to kind of laugh at how absurdly bad he is.
Even his resolution at the end doesn't make him a better person. He's still doing this for himself. It's very selfish.
Yeah.
He doesn't change.
Okay, I'm not gonna... Alright. I won't kill her, okay?
I'll do the right thing.
Yeah. It's so matter of fact. Okay?
He's such an asshole. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But I mean, the Elaine May character in this is like so.
She's a klutz.
Yeah, she could. You could
know anything.
Yeah, she could have easily been excused though as like this cutesy type of character that you have to sympathize for.
It takes work to sympathize with her.
Yeah, she has some obnoxious traits to her. You know, like a real person. She's
just like in Heartbreak Kid with his first wife.
Yeah, these women characters feel real because I know women like that in real life.
Women will say the same thing about the male characters too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's true. That's why they're funny.
Elaine May has this understanding, I think, for the true kind of disconnect, I think, between the sexes, more so than what we see nowadays.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to put it. I didn't think of it, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. Is every other romantic comedy, everyone's technically on the same page. There's just a misunderstanding that needs to be resolved. Yeah. There's no misunderstanding. People are just different, and they don't see the same things, and they never will. Like, that's the hope Elaine May gives us.
I would say it's less plot-driven and more character-driven, which is something that we gravely need in this type of genre, because if we're supposed to be sympathizing for these characters that fall in love, we have to feel that they are real. Nowadays, with Jennifer Aniston comedies or the Twilight films or just whatever else that kind of have this really specifically unhealthy outlook that is just fantastical, that people don't even realize is fantastical. Well, movies versus reality. Art is supposed to imitate life and be a mirror towards it, whereas the fluff that we often see in Hollywood nowadays is very much the opposite. It's like, oh, well, this is something that'll never happen, and it's very escapist. And I don't think that that's intrinsically bad, but it's just so overwhelming.
No, but we're saying what's more interesting to us personally.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I've been calling these things romantic comedies. They're really more satires.
Yeah,
they're very dark
romantic satires.
Romantic satires. There's no easy answers in here, and it's more believable. It's more terrible. It's funnier. There's several really good scenes in A New Leaf that I really like. I like the standoff he has with the lawyer who loves the girl too, and even though she's kind of awkward and strange, he's just been hanging on, like hoping that she'll change her mind about him, and he's trying to like reveal him for the fraud that he is, and then it's a cute little back and forth, and the butler tries to help him in that scene. I don't know, there's a lot of really good character moments. And we said these are really more character-driven films. Even A New Leaf is more character-driven, even though that there's a ticking clock element. And it should be all about the plot, but really we don't care. It's almost like a MacGuffin. It's just in there. Like, yeah, he's got to get married to somebody to save his fortune. No, I don't care. I want to watch him and her interact in these really awkward situations where they're on totally different pages.
Yeah, the flow of the film feels very kind of similar to Walter Matthau's actual attitude towards his fortune and his life, where it's just, oh, well, you know, okay, I'm losing this. Oh, all right, well, that stinks, I guess. I gotta figure out just a way to get out of this. Well, that's too bad. But I love at the beginning. There are several scenes that are just...
He takes it very graciously.
He's just hilarious in this movie.
I love Walter Matthau. Come on, man.
Yeah, especially at the beginning. There's just this scene that Kevin and I just kept quoting back to each other where he's talking about the cars, and it's like, they keep saying the same thing's wrong with it. That there's carbon on the valves, you know? It's just... And I bring it back. What's wrong? There's carbon on the valves. And it's just... You know, the way he says it, there's carbon on the valves. I love his
voice.
And then the other part where he's trying to get his wife to change her clothes, and she can't even do that correctly. You know, she's wearing her glasses and she can't see well, and she's trying to get her dress off.
No. Your head is through the sleeve hole.
Yeah.
Head is the sleeve hole. Now, I don't know. I don't know how you did that, but your head is through the sleeve. Here, let me.
And then... Was it that same scene where she's like unbuttoning her dress and he's just like, no, don't let them out?
Oh no, that's the other woman. The first date he goes
That's
on.
right. Okay, I remember that in there somewhere, but that was a pretty funny.
Which I wondered the whole time: is this character gay? Did you wonder that?
No, I didn't, actually. It never occurred to me.
He doesn't like people, but he seems to have this particular disinterest and disdain for women. And I was just wondering, is he supposed to be gay, or is it just he's just an asexual being? I don't know.
I think
maybe not something we can answer. It was just something I wondered about.
I think he's just a very specifically misogynist person. I don't know.
That scene where the first date he goes on, this woman, very buxom, we'll say, she's about to undo her brassiere. He's like, "No, don't let them out!" Yeah. And he runs away. It's just a strange thing.
John Crenshaw, you haven't seen this movie. What do you have to say about it?
Sounds like he's pretty selfish, which we can draw a similar to our first movie, and the fact that he is a misogynist and he takes himself more seriously over these relationships. We see that it's all about him. Another point that she likes to poke fun at egotistical men. Especially, like John said, when we can't see how much he's interested in women, I think it's more because he's interested in his wealth and keeping it and retaining his lifestyle, probably, and not letting anyone get in the way.
Test subject here for the rest of the world. He understands what we're saying now. I guess he did have the context of watching the first film, but
yes.
Let us know how he did, world. Comment below.
Comment below. This film, even though it is much darker, has a hint more sweetness than The Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah.
Because he does actually have a bit of a character arc. You know, we were saying he doesn't change, he's still a jerk at the end, which is true. But there's a scene where, again, I like the butler. The butler tells him, "Don't you see, you were saying that you have no skills, but being with this woman, you have had to take care of her, and you had to do all these things, and apparently you're very good with finances, and you're very good with keeping these things in order, and controlling things. These are skills you have." And he just writes it off like, no, nothing, I'm just going to kill her. And towards the end, he starts to think that she did bring stuff out of me that I didn't normally have.
Yeah, it's like one of those films that I feel like would be even hard to make nowadays. I love that Elaine May, especially in the context of these two films, they feel very specifically 70s.
Yes.
It's even though Heartbreak Kid was remade, I mean, yeah, you could probably adapt New Leaf easily into something else. I don't know, something about the emerging times that she lived in, of the female character becoming a more prominent and sympathetic type of icon, like in culture. I would say even for the feminist movement around this time period, probably. It's just interesting, though, that she's been pushed kind of into obscurity, it seems. I mean, she did only...
Because of Ishtar.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't...
That was the last... She didn't direct after that. She wrote screenplays after that. Like, she did write Primary Colors with John Travolta. There's a couple other films that I don't know. I haven't seen all of them. But, yeah, I think Ishtar killed it, which is a shame, because I would have been interested to see what else she would have come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I just heard about these couple movies, and I had a friend, Jeremy, recommend them to me, and he made them sound interesting enough for me to check out, and, you know, I was definitely glad that I did. And
Jeremy.
It's a good thing. I think that you guys, if you listen this far and this long, you should check them out, because if you want a good date movie that your date hasn't seen...
Absolutely.
I won't have seen these,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we're pretty sure, unless, you know.
She's one of those, or he's one of those.
If you want a date movie where your date doesn't start thinking you're terrible, go for A New Leaf, because it's cartoony enough where you can both laugh at it without actually seeing real people in those roles.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it and kind of be like, yeah, there's no way I would be that guy. And, you know,
yeah, because he's so extreme.
Yeah.
But Heartbreak Kid is too close to home, maybe.
It's almost gritty in the way.
She's going to look at you after you watch that film, and like when you're sitting on the couch, you're going to put your arm around her, and she's going to just have this look like, you're an animal.
I guess it depends on what type of date you're going for.
Not a first date.
Yeah.
Don't watch it on your honeymoon.
Seventh date movie. Seventh
date movie.
Yeah. That's a fair number.
Arbitrary.
No, it's not arbitrary, man. You just, like, you can't do the first, second, or third date. You know, those are the foundational dates. You get...
Those are out.
Got the fourth and fifth, you're getting more comfortable with the person, right? And then about the sixth date, you're kind of like, oh, you know, we're cool. We're dating, and it's, you know, and then the seventh date, it's like, all right, let's
watch Heartbreak Kid. Yeah, it's logical progression.
Exactly.
That's where that shit goes. It's science, man.
Yeah.
You can't argue with that.
You probably could argue with it, but
no.
All right.
Don't let them think that.
It's new science. It's the new science, because they're coming up with new science all the time. So this
Lawrence Krauss wrote about this in his latest book.
Yeah.
Seventh date is Heartbreak Kid night. Should we rate this film we have here, A New Leaf?
Let's turn over this new rating leaf.
Keep mixing up my articles. I said, Heartbreak Kid and The New Leaf.
You just take out the articles. Just say New Leaf, Heartbreak Kid.
Heartbreak Kid and New Leaf are the two films we talked about this week. We have reviewed Heartbreak Kid and given it. We've prescribed ratings that we felt were very good and reflective of our feelings towards the film. Now it's time for us to review the second film, A New Leaf, starring Walter Matthau and Elaine May. It's a very funny film. I will give it... Ooh, what's the object I can use?
Don't steal mine. I got a good one.
What's the... You haven't seen the movie, Crenshaw.
It matters.
Shut your head.
I know it.
I'll give it 4 out of 5 pratfalls.
All right.
Elaine May's character trips and falls a lot.
I'm going to give it, 4 out of 5 carbons on the valves.
Oh, that's good. Got carbon on the valve.
Carbon on the valves.
I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 canoes. Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, man, that's a good one.
You see how I got there, guys? Draw the line.
It's funny because he hasn't even seen the movie. I don't even know how he's...
That's accurate.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting about the canoe thing towards the end? I don't know if this is on purpose, but it reminded me of The American Tragedy, which was a true story that happened in New York State or some New England state. There was a murder that happened on a canoe. I don't know. I draw the parallel. I'm like, I wonder if that's on purpose because of The American Tragedy.
Wait, wasn't that in Minority Report?
This is in Minority Report too?
No, I don't know. There was a lake, and somebody died. I was just linking the canoe. I don't know.
No, this was really it was like a canoe story. Like, and even Groucho Marx makes reference to it in Monkey Business when he's out in the canoe. He says, I haven't been out in a canoe since I read The American Tragedy. Because one of those people don't come back.
Was that a popularly acknowledged thing that he was referencing when that film came out, or was that just like something that he's...
No. In the 30s, I think that would be fairly well known. Yeah. There's always like weird little topical references that we don't get. Like, don't you know what duplicates are? Sure, there's 5 kids up in Canada, which were the Dion quintuplets from like the 1930s, but we don't really know that now, but back in the day that was popular. I was just wondering if The American Tragedy was still well known enough to be recognized in the 1970s when A New Leaf was made.
Yeah. Well, maybe not.
Could be.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a nod. I don't know. But, I like this film. Yeah. Probably my favorite Walter Matthau film after Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Mentioned Matthau a lot, but really, without Elaine May, this film really could have gone wrong.
Oh, yeah.
If any woman was playing that part, I don't know.
She had a strong little streak, I guess you could say, just at least with those 2 films. Did she? I think she did one other film before Ishtar, didn't she?
I haven't seen the other one, but she did one other film, and then Ishtar happened and kind of wrecked everything.
Yeah.
Got blacklisted.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those murder mystery things where it's like, whatever happened to that important thing that was a thing and it's no longer a thing? Oh, well, it's a conspiracy because that one other thing. Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Oh, Mikey and Nikki. I actually do really want to see this. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to, actually. This one is not a comedy.
Oh, there's one. Oh, is it with Peter Falk and...
John Cassavetes and Ned Beatty.
That sounds like a good lineup.
Emmett Walsh as well. There you go. It sounds appealing to me. Well, anyways, those are the movies this week. I think you all should comment below. Let us know what you want us to review next time. Actually, I think I know what we're going to review next time. John, do you know?
No, but comment anyway. Give us ideas for the future.
Yeah.
Comment. You know what? We're not going to listen to you anyway, but...
Yeah. No, we might, though. I mean... Comment.
If you get something good,
comment and we might. If you actually comment below, we will consider it. But if you don't, we really won't consider your opinion. So, if you want us to consider your opinion, I think it's safe to say you should interact with us.
Can you rephrase that 18 more times?
Well, I could try.
Don't really. Okay. This has been Don't Fly Continental.
So don't do it. And by that I mean watch more movies.
Don't watch more movies?
That's not what I said, John. Let's just stop it there.
Thank you for watching. Next time we'll do something else.